He shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Deuteronomy 6:8 from the ESV. I want to talk about the term Son of God, and specifically in the beginning of Luke's Gospel. That means the first 4 chapters. This will go with our last video where I showed how Luke shows Jesus' deity, that he is truly God as well as truly man. Here I'm going to talk about the term Son of God and say it actually indicates something different. The passages I have in mind are Luke 1:34-35, where Mary asks the angel how she is to get pregnant, and the angel's answer includes giving Jesus the title of Son of God. Luke 3:22, where we hear the voice from heaven at Jesus' baptism say, "You are my beloved Son." And then Luke 4:1-13, if you are the Son of God. Satan tempts Jesus, and every time he tempts him, he says, look, if you're the Son of God, you can do this or that. We'll take these latter 2 first. Just look at them for a minute. Luke has an interpretation. He gives his interpretation by putting something else in the middle of these 2 stories. So we have the baptism of Jesus in 3:21-22. Then we have the temptations of Jesus, 4:1-13. But in the middle of it, I say then, I meant after we skip one. The middle of it, which I just skipped over, is he gives a genealogy of Jesus in 3:23-28. So you have the baptism of Jesus, then this genealogy, which could theoretically have gone anywhere, not been included at all, and then the temptations of Jesus. And here's the summary of what he says in that genealogy. He begins with Jesus. Jesus, when he began his ministry, was about 30 years of age, being the son, as was supposed, of Joseph, the son of Heli, the son of da-da-da, and it goes on and on. And finally, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, the son of God. Adam, the son of God. So, he puts that between, well, before I say the word Luke's getting, it's just, what I'm trying to say is he puts that right between Jesus being called the Son by the voice from heaven, by the Father from heaven, and the Satan saying, if you're the Son of God, then prove it by doing these things, which Jesus shouldn't have done and he didn't do. He was tempted, he resisted it. So, this is what Son of God. Son of God means second Adam. Now, where is Luke getting this? I used to just say, well, look, if we follow the genealogy through, we've got all these people being begotten by the people before them. So when you give him to Adam, the one who created him counts as his father. So Adam is God's son. That's probably true. And Luke would at least give us, a scriptural authority for saying that Adam was God's son. But let's notice something here. If we look at Genesis, it's not just that God created Adam. It's the actual titles that he used. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Okay, so God creates Adam in a certain way. And then we read in Genesis 5:3, when Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness after his image. So being in the likeness and image of someone who came before you is to be a son. That's how Genesis itself would interpret this. Alright, what about Luke 1:34-35, the first passage that uses the term Son of God? Here it is. And Mary said to the angel, how will this be, since I'm a virgin? And the angel answered her, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. Again, this is interesting. Let's look at this language, come upon you, and especially the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Psalm 17:8, for example. Guard me as the pupil of your eye, hide me in the shadow of your wings. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Psalm 36:7. How precious is your steadfast love, O God, that the children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. So apparently God has wings. That's interesting. Psalm 57:1, same thing. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me. For in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge till the storms of destruction pass by. Alright, the power of the Most High will overshadow you. In fact, I noticed something here. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. This actually really works as 2 lines of a psalm. So, where the basics of Hebrew poetry is repetition and slight variation in the wording. So that's what it is here. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. It kind of repeats itself, but with different language. Alright, Psalm 63:7. For you have been my help, and in the shadow of your wings I will sing for joy. Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Psalm 91:1. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. Now, for once, wings aren't mentioned explicitly, but there it is. Similar language. Where is this language? What does it mean? Well, let me look at another passage that talks about being overshadowed by wings. It's Deuteronomy 32:9 through 12a. But the Lord's portion, sings Moses. This is a song for Moses. The Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is his allotted heritage. He found him in a desert land, and in a howling waste, and in the howling waste of the wilderness he encircled him. He cared for him. He kept him as the pupil of his eye, like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, catching them, bearing them in its pinions. The Lord alone guided them. So that's the language of how Yahweh, or Lord, the God of Israel, led them out of Egypt. But it's very similar to language in Genesis 1:1 through 2, the very beginning, first book of the Bible about creation. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and the darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, you might say, well, look, Mark, I don't see any similarity of language. Well, the translation is different, but in the Pentateuch, that's the first 5 books of Moses, or the first 5 books of the Bible, there's only 2 places in the whole 5 books where 2 words show up together. Howling waste of a wilderness is the same thing as without form. The earth was a howling waste, without form and void. Okay? And secondly, flutters. Eagle flutters over its nest. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Same word. So there seems to be this idea that the Spirit, that God's presence is overshadowing the earth and bringing out new life from it. If we look at Genesis 1:2 and try to schematize what we see, it's the Spirit of God is hovering over the waters. And when I do more on Genesis 1:1 through 3 and the rest of Genesis chapter 1, I'll probably put some more details on that. I tried to draw wings, but I've totally failed, so we're just going to have to go with this kind of schema. Think of it as like being back with Atari, where icons counted as illustrations. So what does the Bible say? Now here I'm not going to argue, I'm just going to tell you some conclusions I've come to from my studies, and we're going to cover them in other videos, I'm sure, pretty soon. The cloud that came as God's presence in the tabernacle is referred to as the Spirit. The Israelites had to build a tabernacle in the wilderness, and then the cloud came in there and lit up the altar fires and burned up the sacrifices. And in Haggai, God says, don't worry, just as I promised you in the wilderness, my Spirit is in your midst. And he's talking about his presence in the tabernacle, so that's God's Spirit. Ezekiel's vision. Ezekiel sees a big storm cloud in chapter 1 of Ezekiel, and his vision penetrates, and he sees angels with wings. Alright, kind of like eagle's wings. Psalm 68:17 says the cloud on Mount Sinai, which later then went to the tabernacle, was full of an angelic army. It's full of angels. And then the Spirit in creation, as we just seen, hovered over the waste and brought about new life. So that's what's going on here. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child will be born, will be called holy, a new Adam, a new Son of God. Now again, this is new creation language. There is, Luke, very early in his gospel, affirms the deity of Christ. I'm just suggesting that the Son of God is not the term he uses to articulate that. Ironically, most people think, Son of God means deity and Son of Man means humanity. And then they say, well, wait, no, in Daniel 7, Son of Man actually has these deity kind of overtones. Well, I'm saying it's all the opposite. And if you look at my videos on Son of Man and Daniel 7, you'll see how I argue that. It's actually the other way around, that both refer especially to Christ as the new human, the new Adam, second Adam. Son of Man means second Adam, successor to Adam, and Son of God means new Adam. And it has some other implications as well, so we'll in a future video go through Son of God in a wider gamut than just Luke. But Son of God means new Adam, new creation, at least in the beginning of Luke's Gospel. That's how he sets it up. And as I said, if you see the previous video, you'll see how he also affirms Christ's deity, But he doesn't use that with the term Son of God, even though we expect him to. By the way, the language of Mary that Mary is given by the angel is also marital imagery. This has nothing to do with the video except I couldn't let it go. He said, "Who are you?" This is Boaz talking to Ruth, who wants Boaz to marry him and has snuck into his camp at night. And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." She's asking him to marry her. So I think it's interesting that the angel uses similar language about how the Most High, the power of the Most High, will overshadow you. All right, well, that's all I have to say for now. This has been Hands and Eyes, and hope you have a great time until we meet again through YouTube. Oops.